Good morning, Mayor. Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Nice to see you. Thank you. The podium is yours.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And Mr. President, members of council, thank you. It's a historic day for the city of Pittsburgh today, and it's a great honor to be able to present the 2018 budget and a few other announcements today. Before I do, I just want to take a minute of just to talk about a few internal issues. For the past several years, the city of Pittsburgh has been blessed to have Paul Legger serve as our finance director. Paul came out of retirement to help us to be able to make a transition from a city that was facing financial bankruptcy and distress to a city that would be stabilized financially through reform efforts and through fiscal planning. Paul is the example of a professional government employee. I consider him not only a colleague of all of ours, but a friend of mine, a mentor, and my former professor. Paul didn't have to come back. He had a nice retirement and was ready to move on to that next phase, but he did. At the end of this year, Paul will be announcing his second retirement. That's not to say that we won't try to pull him back a third time, but the fact of the matter is that the cooperation that we've seen over these past several years between City Council's budget office, the administration's budget and finance, the reconstitutioned ICA, the Act 47 coordinators, the city controller, came about because of the professionalism of Mr. Paul Legger. And today I just want to take a moment to thank him for the people of the city of Pittsburgh. Thank you, Paul. Thank you for your leadership. In the same path, we will be submitting the name of the nominee to become the next finance director of the city of Pittsburgh, and it's my honor to nominate Margaret Lanier for the position. Margaret has dedicated her life to the city of Pittsburgh and to the people of this city. She has led by example. She has served as our treasurer. She has worked her way up and earned by merit every promotion that she has earned. And she is the example to all of our city employees that through hard work, through dedication, and through commitment, every employee has that opportunity to lead. So thank you, Margaret. Looking forward to nominating your name to City Council. I also want to thank our Chief Financial Officer and our Budget Director, Sam Ashbaugh and Jen Pursuti, for the work that they have done in putting together not only this budget, but by putting together a framework for the next 12 years of this city, a 2030 vision that will allow the city of Pittsburgh to have a financial plan that won't only create year-by-year balanced budgets, but financial stability and financial security. And for that, thank you as well. And finally, I also want to thank your finance chair, City Council's finance chair, Natalia Rudiak, who through these past several years has led through an opportunity of providing a basis of using our budget as a mirror of our soul, of understanding what it is that is important to Pittsburgh and the people of Pittsburgh, and then prioritizing it and making sure that it is a part of every budget that we have approved, of working to make sure that every decision that went through with each of those bills that came before City Council was dedicated and made sure that our budget and our numbers followed it through our commitment of providing resources mainly to those that had the least. for the years that you have dedicated of your life to serving the people of Pittsburgh, especially those who have the most need. Thank you. I'm pleased to be here with you today to present the proposed operating and capital budgets for 2018. Today, we will highlight improvements in the city's financial condition since we began Act 47 oversight and discuss some of the ongoing challenges and risks that must be addressed to ensure the city remains on the path towards long-term financial sustainability. I also wanted to share some of the strategic investments we have made over the last 3 years, as well as some key initiatives planned for 2018 and beyond. We've made a lot of progress in restructuring city government, in improving the delivery of core services, but there's always room for improvement, and I'm happy to share some of my priorities going forward. When I assumed office in 2014, many thought the city was ready to exit Act 47. While the city made a lot of progress in getting its financial house in order, 2 sets of decisions made in 2013 altered the city's financial forecast. The first was the reduction in millage rate after the county reassessment, and the other was the actions taken by the pension board to adjust mortality rates and lower the assumed investment rate of return. Absent any further reforms, these 2 changes would have resulted in unbalanced budgets every year, and the city's fund balance would have been depleted by the end of 2018. That was an unacceptable outcome for a municipality that had been operating under Act 47 for a decade. So I asked then Governor Corbett to keep the city under Act 47 oversight until we could implement more financial reforms and continue the progress of an overall economic recovery. In addition, we knew that we needed to contribute money more to the pension fund than we needed to invest significantly more in our roads, bridges, and buildings. With the framework of the 2014 recovery plan, the city has produced balanced budgets every year, achieved positive operating results, continued to put more money into the pension fund, maintained a healthy fund balance, and implemented a number of initiatives to improve city government operations. Due to the progress we have made, I'm happy to share a letter that I have sent to Governor Wolf and Secretary Davin of the DCED requesting their approval for ending the city's distress status, termination of Act 47 provisions, and the completion of ICA oversight, contingent on City Council enacting a series of financial reforms to ensure we don't return to the practices of the past. Just a few years ago, Pittsburgh faced an uncertain financial future. Thanks to the hard work of city employees, ongoing collaboration with City Council, and a more productive working relationship with the Act 47 coordinators and a new ICA leadership, the 2018 budget and 5-year plan continues our path towards long-term financial stability. The 2018 budget and 5-year plan strikes a balance between the need to provide high-quality and efficient municipal services and invest in the city's infrastructure, while also being a prudent steward of the city's finances. Continuing the objectives of the Act 47 plan, the 2018 budget and 5-year plan includes balanced budgets every year and maintains an adequate fund balance. While our fund balance stays at about the 10% target every year, we are still significantly below the GFOA recommended practice of 16.7%. So we must resist the temptation to reduce our reserves. We need to have an adequate amount of cash available to start the fiscal year and guard against emergencies and/or an economic downturn. A city that has a disproportionate share of its operating budget paying off debt will struggle to deliver core services and fund priority programs and initiatives. In 2014, almost 20% of the total general fund expenditures were dedicated to debt service. These are dollars that can't be used to hire employees, pay existing employees more competitive wages, or provide more services. The good news is that by exercising financial discipline, we have turned the tide and significantly reduced debt service costs. However, we continue to face significant infrastructure needs and must deal with the uncertainty of CDBG funds, which will allow for targeted investments in our neighborhoods, yet continue to be reduced by Washington. Over the next 5 years, our debt service payments will be reduced. This will allow the city to responsibly issue bonds to increase investment in our assets and infrastructure after years of minimal investment. And it demonstrates that the progress we've made in our commitment to adhering to our debt policy. Implementing a comprehensive solution to our pension funding has and will continue to be a priority for my administration. By the end of the proposed 5-year plan, the city will have doubled its contributions to the pension system compared to the beginning of my administration, and will contribute over $232 million above the minimum municipal obligation over the next 5 years. While the city has done its part in getting our financial house in order and increasing local contributions to the pension fund, we need the support of the governor and our legislative leaders to enact a comprehensive solution to the pension funding issue. I've sent a letter to these leaders asking for their support for a solution that works for Pittsburgh and provides long-term financial stability. The City of Pittsburgh pension reform recommendations include: allow for the voluntary delay of pension participation and contributions for the first 6 months after hire. Move municipal employees' vesting to 10 years. Measure services by time contributing to the retirement plan, not just years of service. Contributions can be returned to non-vested members or to vested members in lieu of retirement benefits. Unused contributions will be paid to beneficiary in event of death with interest. Require pension benefits to be based on the highest 104 pays of the last 8 years. Full retirement would be equal to 50% of the employee's final salary based on 25 years of credible service in age requirement. For municipal employees, the age would be set at 60 years old. For police and fire employees, the age would be set at 55 years old. Qualifications for early retirement would include being vested and being between the ages of 55 and 60 years old. Disability would be equal to 12 years of credible service and proof of total and permanent disability. Layoff or no-fault retirement would be equal to 25 years of service, and terminated without cause may be eligible to receive 70% of full retirement. Survivor annuity would require that the spouse receives 50% of deceased member's retirement benefit less the cost of option. Workers' compensation would require that employees who retire on workers' comp will receive a pension amount equal to the last monthly contribution made while working. Remove all pension from collective bargaining. End pension spiking for fire union, all benefits based solely on pay without overtime or other supplements. Make pension contributions flexible annually so that the percent of pay could float every year to offset lower than expected return from investment. Revise Act 205 reimbursements to allow offset reimbursements for the years where employee contributions decline or expenses rise, while waiting for the effect of a defined contribution program for cities that sever defined benefits. Revise Act 205 to stop subsidies to plans that are 100% funded. Consider giving the defined benefit program to the state to administer once the defined contribution is instituted. Sever PWSA pension plan and go to a defined contribution plan for 200 plus PWSA employees as soon as possible, eliminate health benefits for pensioners going forward unless they are part of a buyout program. In addition, forbid new OPEB funds. In addition to this list of recommendations, a recommended amendment for cities of the second class that will have a positive outcome for Pittsburgh's pension plan will be forthcoming in the next 2 weeks. Furthermore, I am calling for action on municipal pension reform by the end of the year. In addition to addressing debt, pension, and retiree health benefits, the city continues to pursue cost mitigation strategies for health care and workers' compensation. We have slowed the rate of growth in health care costs by moving to self-insured arrangement and increasing our employee wellness program, which have also mitigated cost increases for our city employees. Through our commitment to workplace and employee safety, we have reduced the number of injuries, both those requiring medical attention and those that result in lost time. Though we've talked about legacy costs individually, it is important to see the overall financial impact of our efforts. As I've already mentioned, debt service payments have decreased and workers' comp costs remain stable. Without these improvements, we would have not been able to increase contributions to the city's pension fund. Since entering into Act 47, the city has decreased the size of its workforce by 26%, while maintaining and even improving service levels. We've made a lot of tough decisions about programs and services while under Act 47 oversight, and employees have been asked to make sacrifices in terms of compensation and benefits. I'm proud of the work that city employees do each and every day to make the city a great place to live, work, visit, and enjoy. Please join me in thanking them for all their hard work throughout the year. Though we've made a lot of progress to strengthen the city's finances and prepare to exit Act 47 oversight, we cannot return to the practices of the past that led us to entering Act 47 in the first place. That's why my administration will be submitting legislation to City Council to provide a framework for prudent financial management and ensure that we will continue to meet the financial management benchmarks we have achieved while under Act 47. In my letter to City Council, I am asking them to approve these reforms by the end of the year so we can continue to adhere to solid financial management practices regardless of who serves on City Council or in the Mayor's office. The amendments to Chapter 192, pensions, prohibit pension enhancements. Amendments to Chapter 202, debt. Debt service shall remain 12% of the general fund, including debt service expenditures. Debt burden principal, 3% of full taxable assessed value. PAYGO, goal of 15% annual transfer. Allow and define short-term financing. All debt will be structured so that 60% will be retired in 10 years. Amendments to Chapter 218, capital. All capital projects 2 years and older and all CDBG projects 3 years and older with 20% or less spent will automatically close. The funds go back to cash and are available in the following year budget. Amendments to Chapter 219, operating. Fund balance must be maintained at 10% with a goal of 12.5%. Revenue consensus in August between the Office of Management and Budget, Department of Finance, Council Budget Office, and the Controller's Office. One budget release in November, consistent with Home Rule Charter, and the Office of Management and Budget to continue quarterly reports. Please be advised that if we are able to act leave Act 47 at the consent of the governor and DCED, but we don't have these reforms passed by City Council in part of City Code, we will go back to the practices of the past, and we will not be able to guarantee the people of Pittsburgh financial stability for the future. If we're able to leave Act 47 and include each of these provisions as part of City Code, we can guarantee to the people of Pittsburgh that we will have financial stability through 2030. This budget reinforces our commitment to invest in core city services, to provide safe, healthy, and thriving neighborhoods, to ensure that Pittsburgh remains a great place to live, work, visit, and raise a family. Let's talk about some of our key successes and initiatives we have planned for next year. Since 2014 through next year, we will have hired almost 500 officers, which has more than tripled the amount of recruits from the previous 6 years. I'm proud to say that we're on track to sustain a staffing level of over 900 police officers available for operations in 2018. While reaching that goal in 2017 was important, we need to maintain a consistent level of staffing going forward, given workforce demographics and historical attrition. So we will add 3 additional recruit classes to the Pittsburgh Bureau of Police in 2018. This year, we entered into an agreement with the Pittsburgh Cultural Trust to utilize space at the Lantern Building in downtown Pittsburgh, which will create the first ever police substation. It is our goal as we continue to build out community officers throughout each of our neighborhoods to also work to creating a Zone 7, a zone that will cover the South Side, downtown, the Strip, the North Side, North Shore, the entertainment areas of our city, so our officers aren't taken out of our neighborhoods whenever a large event is occurring. In addition to our plan to develop a strategic and long-term approach to fully staffing the Police Bureau, we have consistently added firefighter recruit classes to reach authorized staffing levels and reduce the need for callbacks. For the period of 2014 through next year, we will have added almost 220 firefighter recruits, which is almost triple the number added for the previous 6 years. As a result of proactive succession planning with multiple recruiting levels over the last 7 years, we have reduced the volume of callback and overall overtime. In an effort to sustain staffing level consistent with our operational needs, the city will add 1 additional recruit class in 2018 to the Pittsburgh Bureau of Fire. In 2017, we hired our first EMTs since we entered Act 47 to reduce the workload of our paramedics responding to basic life support calls. In just a few months, we've seen the benefits of the program through the thousands of calls they've responded to, which allow paramedics to focus on calls requiring an advanced life support response. EMS leadership has also reported a reduction in the number of mutual aid calls required from other suburban departments. In 2018, we'll continue our multi-year plan to increase the number of PLI employees, especially inspectors. These additions help the city keep pace with increased development and provide better service to residents and business owners. PLI continues to invest in cross-training to allow staff to complete more inspections across different functional areas. With the addition of PLI staff, I'm proud to share that we are seeing a return on our investment. We've increased plan review staff from 5 in 2014 to 12 in 2018, which has produced real results. By investing in our workforce, we've been able to cut building plan review times significantly. This helps facilitate development in the city as projects move through the approval process more efficiently. Investing in PLI has also allowed us to issue more building permits in each of our last 4 years. During this time, we've increased the number of permits issued by over 15% and brought in almost 20% more revenue. This allows us to continue investing in the department and provide better services to the public. From 2018 through 2023, our long-term plan will invest an additional $52 million for vehicles and equipment to deliver core services. These purchases include police vehicles, ambulances, fire trucks, public work trucks, and other equipment necessary to invest in our fleet and provide our employees with the vehicles and equipment they need to do their jobs. The 2014 Act 47 recovery plan highlighted the fact that the city needed to invest more money in its infrastructure, including roads, bridges, and buildings. While investing more money in our infrastructure is a good thing, I always knew that we need to establish the proper organization, talent, policies, processes, and technology to ensure those investments produced results. Several years later, I'm happy to share the progress we've made since 2014 and our plans for the next few years. A few years ago, I tasked OMB with the responsibility for strategic planning and oversight for the development of a long-term investment and maintenance plan for all of the city's assets. We've also created the Department of Mobility and Infrastructure, established the Department of Public Works Bureau of Facilities, and added staff to support both taking a strategic look at our workforce and prioritizing our needs. Not only have we added staff, but we are focusing on providing them with the knowledge and tools they need to succeed the implementation of the Cartograph Asset Management System and the current initiative to transform the facilities management function through the introduction of a project management and work order process based on leading practices. With City Council's support, we've made strategic investments in the facility optimization plan to guide our planning and decision-making for years to come, and are in the process of developing long-term maintenance and investment plans for all of our asset types. Finally, we continue to improve our capital budgeting process to ensure that our resources are allocated to high-priority projects. The 28 capital budget allocates over 170 would be great. Allocates over $107 million in funding capital projects across the city. The 2018 capital budget continues our effort to reform the capital budgeting process and improve our assets and infrastructure. The majority of the capital projects funded in 2018 will be targeted to strategic maintenance and investment in our assets and infrastructure, including roads, facilities, vehicles, and equipment. Through prudent financial stewardship and responsible borrowing, we have developed a realistic, long-term capital investment plan. We've seen what happens when we disinvest in assets. Bridges become unsafe and must be closed or demolished. Poor condition roads and sidewalks create mobility challenges. Facilities have deplorable working conditions for our employees, and we end up spending more in the long run to fix things when they break rather than to focus on preventive maintenance. We need to invest more, not less, in our capital program. With these efforts, we are positioned to responsibly increase our borrowing capacity over the next 6 years to increase investment in capital projects through the city and tackle the significant backlog of projects. Across all funding sources, the 6-year capital improvement plan presented today includes nearly $647 million in strategic investments for the period of 2018 through 2023. The capital budget will fund nearly 200 separate deliverables related to capital projects throughout the city in 2018. Meat and potato projects all across the corners of the city, from the Middle Hill and Southside Flats to Elliott and Marshall Shadeland, such as laying down new safety surfaces and playgrounds and painting or upgrading play equipment, will ensure safe parks and play areas for our youngest Pittsburghers and their families. Initiation of the Whiteman Park renovation project in Squirrel Hill in District 8, which will include improvements to the sports field and new play equipment, as well as investments in green stormwater mitigation. We will be increasing accessibility with ADA improvements to city facilities such as the Homewood Senior Center in District 9, Brookline Park in District 4, as well as installation of hearing loops at healthy active living centers in the north side in District 1, Glen Hazel in District 5, and Mount Washington in District 2. The budget reflects thoughtful collaboration with community and authority partners on projects that will transform entire neighborhoods. As part of PennDOT's upgrades of the East Carson Street in the south side, District 3, the city is contributing $1.5 million to expand pedestrian safety enhancements. The city is also collaborating with the URA on a project to reconstruct a large portion of Smallman Street in the Strip District in District 7, and with PWSA on large-scale improvements to 4 Mile Run in Shenley Park in District 5. The city is also participating in a cutting-edge project to help to alleviate congestion in city streets. With $11 million in funds from the Federal Highway Administration and a multi-million-dollar commitment from the state, the city will deploy adaptive signal technology to some of our busiest corridors. These smart spines include technology that allow traffic signals to sense increases in car and pedestrian traffic, so green lights can be adjusted on the fly to reduce wait times. The signals within a corridor or spine will also communicate with one another, so a sudden rush at one intersection can be properly managed by the other intersections as well. The 2008 through 2023 capital improvement plan includes $103 million for street resurfacing, with $16.4 million allocated in 2018. I'm proud to say that the budget for street resurfacing has more than doubled since I came into office in 2014. But we continue to have backlog since we should have been allocating $20 million every year to keep our streets in proper condition. Although not part of the city's annual paving program, projects such as the reconstruction of Smallman Street and implementation of the Federal Highway Administration's advanced transportation and congestion management technologies involve significant paving components. We have accomplished a lot by increasing our investment, improving coordination with utilities, and using technology and data to better plan and manage the paving program to improve the condition of our streets. From 2018 to 2023, our new long-term plan will invest over $214 million in improving facilities throughout the city. Implementation of recommendations from the Facilities Optimization Plan will allow the city to better maintain its infrastructure and provide service delivery to residents. Over $900,000 will be dedicated to sport facility improvements in 2018, such as ball field renovations, the installation of light activation buttons to aid in electrical usage, and the purchase of ADA accessible bleachers for our outdoor hockey rinks. We will continue to financially support upgrades to our recreation and senior centers, including design work to improve ADA accessibility at the Homewood Senior Center and installing a new roof and elevator at the Warrington Rec Center in 2018. Another major project on the horizon is a new public safety training facility. The design process for this facility will begin in 2018. Though we have made great strides to improve the condition of city's facilities, it's important that we acknowledge that we continue to have a huge backlog of investment needs. According to the Facilities Optimization Plan, we need to spend $60 million immediately to get all of our facilities in good condition. Unfortunately, it will take us at least 5 years to address all of the current needs. I'd like to work with City Council to find a way to accelerate this program and make these much-needed investments. In January 2018, the city will launch an online budget engagement tool. The tool will enable the public to learn more about how departments and projects are budgeted and allow users to submit their own model budgets. Submitted budgets will be used to help determine public support for the projects beginning in 2019. The structure in operations of city government today are much different than it was just a few years ago. And I believe the changes we have made are having a positive impact on how city government operates for the benefit of our residents, our neighborhoods, our businesses, and our employees. Before 2014, the Public Safety Department consisted of a director and a staff person. Today, we have a department with strong, effective leadership that has integrated core functions such as community outreach, planning, emergency management, special events, and finance. We have established the Department of Innovation and Performance to deliver strategic technology services, drive innovation, and facilitate efficient and effective city services through data-driven analytics and continuous improvement. Recognizing the need to change how the city buys goods and services, we established a centralized procurement team in OMB and have implemented a number of process, policy, and technology changes based on best practices. In 2014, we announced a plan to begin the overhaul of the Bureau of Building Inspection with the creation of the Department of Permits, Licenses, and Inspections. Over the last few years, we have restructured the department, implemented new processes, and provided employees with the tools they need to do their jobs and provide exceptional customer service. We've made great stride, but there's more work to do. The Bureau of Neighborhood Empowerment was created to focus on strategies and initiatives in areas such as housing, education, small business development, and diversity and inclusion to improve communities and address the needs of targeted populations. We established the Sustainability and Resilience Division in city planning to integrate these practices into city operations, policies, and investments across all departments. In 2018, we'll continue these efforts and have included several organizational changes to the 2018 budget. Expanding the role of the newly created Department of Mobility and Infrastructure to improve the organization, planning, coordination, and execution of mobility and transportation projects, processes, and initiatives. Transitioning the personnel function into a modern human resources department focused on recruiting, developing, managing, and retaining a highly qualified and diverse workforce. Aligning the Community Development Block Grant Program under the Office of Management and Budget to centralize all grant management and compliance functions. Increasing the number of PLI staff and commencing implementation of the new permitting and licensing system to modernize this important function. And establishing a Bureau of Facilities in DPW to improve the maintenance and operation of all of our city facilities. Today, I issued a letter to UPMC Highmark, Carnegie Mellon University, and the University of Pittsburgh, asking them to work with the city to collectively, early next year, to fund affordable housing, pre-K education, safe water initiatives, and more. By working together, we can develop a comprehensive funding strategy to address these critical issues. It's important to recognize that this support that we are asking is contingent upon City Council supporting new revenue sources to be the local source to match these funds. Our goal is not to have an affordable housing trust fund of only $10 million. Our goal is to use that $10 million to leverage funds from our large institutions, our foundation community, our corporate community, other government agencies. Our goal is to have funds available in the 28 budget to fund pre-K education, new revenue sources, so that we can then leverage additional funds from our large nonprofit institutions, our corporations, our other government agencies, and other sources to be able to be used as funds to leverage. And beginning in the first quarter of 2018, we will announce the plans for one PGH, a plan for 2030 to find all the ways that the success of this city can help all people, not just some, but all, and the resources that will be needed in order to fund it. But understand, this isn't a handout. This is an opportunity for the city of Pittsburgh to show that we're in the game. We have skin in this game. We are investing in what we believe to be the core issues of our city, and we're asking our partners to do the same. If you think back to the days of David Lawrence, back when the city of Pittsburgh partnered with our corporate community, it was a partnership that was made between both, and both had a commitment and a stake in understanding what the core issues were. It was brick and mortar, it was roads, it was bridges, it was tunnels. They invested in buildings. Our goal is to invest in people, to find a way to bring all of us together under one Pittsburgh, to be able to bridge the gaps that we have in inequity, disparity, and the loss of opportunity of our most important resource, our young people. There is so much good happening in this city right now. There is so much being read and written about this city on our economic development and growth patterns and the trajectory. But if we don't invest in human programs to be able to help and give people an opportunity, we will have failed. It's not about bricks and mortars and buildings anymore. It's about in the cities that are able to create those opportunities for all. And there needs to be a commitment of this city government to recognize the critical importance of investing in people by coming up with new revenue to be able to then go to others and say, we need you to be a part as well. We can't rely on other people to fund it. We have to fund it. And I'm asking council to pass the Affordable Housing Trust Fund legislation before the end of this year so that we can begin that conversation as early as January 1st. Thank you for your help in bringing Pittsburgh back from insolvency. From today forward, I pledge to work with you to keep us on the path of fiscal discipline in continuing the transformation and modernization of Pittsburgh city government. Thank you, Mr. President.